Hey everyone, today is October 27th, 2025 at around 1:35 p.m. where I'm at. If you don't know, I'm in Jamaica, born and bred Jamaican. And if you also don't know, on this day, we are set to experience I don't know if you can see outside, not much going on really, but we are set to experience the worst hurricane we've faced many hurricanes. Um, those 80s babies will tell you, if you are willing to listen, even if you're not willing to listen, about Hurricane Gilbert, the infamous Hurricane Gilbert. And that was like a category, I think, 3, something like that. And this one is a category 5 at the moment, and moving very slowly towards us. So it is going to be the strongest hurricane we've experienced in our country's history. Um, of course, that's daunting. Of course, that's scary. Of course, that's you know, anxiety inducing. All of us are anxious. Waiting, sitting, waiting. I mean, I've prepared as much as I can. Um, and I just decided to take this quick video, make this quick video. Haven't done one in a while. Just on how life is set up, or like life set up with a whole heap of variables that we can't control. We can't control a lot about a lot of things in this life. And we as people, we walk around and we do our little jobs and make our little money, and we buy little houses and cars and this, and acquire all these things. And it's great, because that is the aim of mine as well. If you're a human being existing in this physical plane and you have any kind of ambition and want to flourish in any way, you too have these ambitions. I have these ambitions, right? Um, and so it's not a bad thing, really. It's just that we can't lose sight of the fact that there is way more that is outside of our control than is actually in our control, right? Um, Something like this catastrophic weather situation is one of them. Um, and what does that mean? That means, in life, just going through this journey of life and lifing, how important it is to really take stock of that often, very often, as often as possible. How a lot of things in life we don't have control over. We don't have control over a vast variety of things, and even though we pretend a lot of times that we do, and it just shows us how, I don't want to say insignificant, but that's the first word that came up in my head, so let's use that word, how significant um, a lot of our dreams and aims and goals are in the biggest, grander scheme of things, right? um, and it's not really what you call like a negative. It's not a negative. It's not a strike against us, or a strike against you, or a strike against me. It's more of how we can come in alignment, right? How we can come in alignment with that inevitability. Because inevitably, if we are so not in control of so many variables in this life experience, why fight it, right? Like, why fight against it? Why resist? You know what I mean? Um, just figure out a way in your own journey, my own journey, how we can align, right? How we can align with this flow, you know what I mean? With this flow of life, with this flow of other variables. And that would make your life easier. You know what I mean? That would make life in general easier. Not just easier, it will make it less violent, less oppressive, less dangerous, less catastrophic. Um, it will make it more loving, more easeful. That's different from easy, but easeful. It will make it more, I feel like, abundant and, what do you call it? Focus on the right things. You know what I mean? Focus on what we really should be here focused on as beings, human beings having this experience. And so times like these really make me personally think about how I respond to things that are happening outside of my control. You know, how I feel, how it makes me feel, how I react, how I respond. Um, and for me personally, over the years, it's been evolving, it's been getting better. You know, it's hard because, you know, coming into this experience and having this life experience, you're kind of constantly pumped with information that make you feel like as a human being you're at the top of the food chain when really we aren't at the top of the food chain. Um, it make you understand that hey, you are just on the same level as the trees, the other animals that exist, the insects, all of these things that are also a part of the biodiversity of this planet that we're on, right? Like we're no more or no less, regardless of what we as a structure, systematic structure, have convinced ourselves, you know. Because I had a thought recently that at the end of the day, human beings, speaking of food chain, we really, as I said, are at the bottom because if you check it out, if human beings, and this has been proven, if you read and do your research, we've gone through maybe what, 4 extinctions, mass extinctions already over the course of the planet existence that we know of. I think maybe 4, yeah, 4 extinctions, events, and the Earth is still here. The Earth is still here. You know, we weren't obviously classified as human beings at the time, whether it's Homo erectus or whatever it was, but we were still human-like, right? And these 4 extinctions, the planet survived, and here we are looking down the barrel, according to some, what they want to call them conspiracy theorists or quantum physicists, all these people, archaeologists, scientists, astronomy, astrologists, they're, you know, we're staring down the barrel, according to a lot of them, down a 5th extinction. And the planet is still going to be here. But I bet the fuck, if bees disappear, this whole bitch crumble. Bees, ants, mosquitoes that we're so annoyed of. But they are such a vital part of the ecosystem that if these beings, because they're beings, they may not be human, but they're beings, they're living, breathing things, entities. If they disappear, the planet is more likely to crumble than if human beings disappeared, right? And a perfect example is during COVID. In recent times, COVID, when everybody locked away for how many weeks and months, how the planet was just thriving. The air was fresher, trees was blooming, everything was just nice. Why? People weren't out there doing fuck shit, polluting and shit, driving all, you know, consuming, doing all these things, littering, all of these things. So that shows you, that showed me that as human beings, we really aren't as significant to the grand scheme of things as we really think we are, or like to think we are. And so it's humbling. You just humble yourself, and just knowing that you, I, all of us as human beings are not more significant than the trees, the stone, the rivers, the dog, the cat, the bees, the ants, the mosquitoes. In fact, they are more significant than us. And we can't control that. We just have to figure out a way. Our best bet is to figure out a way how to work in tandem, how to work in alignment with all of these other things that are happening and living and existing around us, whether in actual physical form or energetic wise, right? And I think that makes for a more peaceful, thriving, collective experience in life, right? But, on the other hand, we see where certain systems, the powers that be, especially now in this time, as I told you, today's date is the 27th of October 2025. And if you're listening and watching and observing what's going on around the world, there are a lot of powers that be that believe, firmly believe, that they are in fact in control of shit, and they are in fact at the top of the food chain. And that's where you get. If you look around the world, if you see what the fuck is going on, that's where you get when you have that kind of mindset and you operate from that mindset of, oh, I own all this shit and all these people and everybody need to just be under my thumb and I can abuse them and do whatever I want. This is what you get. This is the type of world that we get, and we're nowhere near the decay that is threatening us at this moment as a humanity. We're nowhere near. We're just really chipping away at the ice, and it's scary, whether it's all of this. It's scary times, whether it's, category 5 hurricanes that we have no control over, or fucking powers who think that they really and truly run shit, as I keep saying, in the grand scheme of things, right? But at the end of the day, we have, as a collective, more control over that than we have over, I don't know, can't see shit, it's crazy, my camera is trash, but more than you have over the weather. We can't control that, but we can control how we respond, how we prepare, how we react, how we respond, how we react, what we do, how we prepare, with or against the powers that be, right? So those are things that we'll have control over, or a little bit more control over, where we can not do or do things that are not furthering the agenda of the powers that be, right? I hear a lot of talk about canceling Christmas, canceling this, canceling that in the great America, and maybe other parts of the world, I don't know, but American media is the most prominent, so that's what I'm hearing mostly, and they still kind of have the needle, or move the needle, in terms of world activity and events. So whatever goes on there, it's gonna impact most of the world in a big way. So a lot of what's going on there, is prime example of the people trying to have some kind of control and autonomy over what the fuck is going on with their life. And that is the difference between what we can control and what we can't control, right? So I thought I would just jump on here and just like do this position. The quality camera is trash, you can barely see me, whatever. But it rests on my heart to just talk about this idea of control, whether it's in our hands or not, and what people do with this control, and how misinformed we are of what control is and who has it and what we should do with it, and how this misinformation can truly fuck us up. And at the end of the day, we have to just refocus and really start meds in. We're talking in Jamaica meds, Wola meds, on what the really important thing in life is, which is to be in alignment, understand that the more are the most important things that really impact us in a major way, we don't have control over. But other things that also impact us, maybe not on a category 5 catastrophic word, weather condition, maybe not in that sense, but it still can end our worlds, right? Whether individual worlds or our collective as a community worlds, it's still world ending. And a lot of that we still have control over. So I implore myself and anyone who see this video to, kind of sit down and think about these things. Think about what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and how you can navigate these things, right? And how best to navigate these things, like for real, not sit down and think, oh, how I can manipulate this thing to work in my favor. No, really think about how best to navigate things outside and inside of your or control, right? Because at the end of the day, all of humanity will depend on that. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm just gonna go brace myself as much as, well, not really brace myself, because at the end of the day I've prepped as much as possible, as I said. So it's basically just to time will tell. So hopefully I'll do another video sooner than later, and give updates on how we are after this storm. But yeah, peace.